everybody, welcome to episode 60 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's with me tonight?
Mercenary Stuart Hughes.
Ben Johnson, generally go Brother Ben 15 in most games.
Another fellow Overbloody from I watched the entire Overblood Super Replay, which I never have. Part of that group, joining us tonight. Someday I should really watch the rest of that replay, shouldn't I?
Probably.
It's never going to happen at this point. I just don't care.
I only watched a couple hours of it.
I beat Overblood. Does that count?
No.
Oh, okay. I did beat Overblood. So, I will. Couple quick things I want to say before we introduce what we're playing. First, I want to give an awesome shout out to all our listeners, and hopefully the people who listen to Alice are also listening to this episode. We actually had broken our record. Alice was the first episode to hit 300, 250, 350, all in less than a week. It's at 354 currently downloaded. So thank you so much, guys, for listening to that episode. So, and Labyrinth is at 299, so almost at 300 at the time of this recording. So, and that's also super fucking impressive. We had 3 days over 250 in the last week, which is a first for us to have those kind of numbers. I want to thank everyone who's been taking the time out and spreading us around to let people know. Like, we greatly appreciate it. It
Congratulations.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? The numbers just kept going up and up and up and up. Hell, 100 people downloaded Killer 7 in like one day. And I was like, okay. I don't understand. Okay.
You never know. Some stuff blows up and it's like, okay, like legitimately Alice blew up and I was like, okay, let me see if there's like any news of like a sequel to this game coming out, like just happenstance. Like, just don't know why that one did so well compared to others.
And two other things I want to say. One, Stefan is not joining us tonight. Unfortunately, he has some family stuff to take care of. But I do have a funny thing to say. He's helping a friend of his, a girl, and she had asked him the simple question that it made me laugh when he said it. She told me, "What's more important, me or your stupid podcast?" And I thought to myself, women love the word "stupid" sometimes. It just made me think of that with my exes. They were like, "Oh, stupid video game, stupid that, stupid this." And I was like, well. So he had to take care of something important. So unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. But I did want to say out that little joke. And one last thing before I introduce, I had a buddy, a fellow listener, Adam Bradbury, who's been talking to me off on Facebook. Oh, if anyone ever has any questions about this podcast or ever just want to reach out, please feel free to reach out to me on Messenger, on the Facebook Games My Mom Found. I will reply. I mean, sometimes it might take me a day just because I hate logging in because it makes my password every single time. But I will answer your question. So if you ever feel free to shoot out. He had actually sent an email to us back when we did Metal Gear Solid, but I actually didn't check the email since we created the email until a couple days ago. So, but I did want to read his memory from there, and he's been talking to me. So we're just going to read that real quick. So this is about Metal Gear Solid from Adam. It said Metal Gear Solid FF7 were definitely the game played the most on PS1. I'd like to share with you some of the fun stuff I used to do. Sneaking up behind guards and placing C4 on their back. Throwing a grenade into the urinal that the guard is using in B1 of the nuke storage. I've never did that.
Oh, yeah.
They tell you that you can't use guns in the nuke storage floor 1, but you can snipe the guards while laying in the doorway. Wow, I did not know that. I really would have liked to read that when we did Metal Gear. Unfortunately, it did not happen. All right, now that we got some of that stuff out of the way that I needed to clear up, I think I should introduce what game I picked for us this week. First, I want to say, I'm sorry, I'm a fucking asshole, I realize. Wow. We played Brave Fencer Mushashi for PlayStation 1, made by Squaresoft, which doesn't exist anymore, exactly. Came out in 1998. Well, they're Square Enix now, but back then they were Square.
Square's still around. They're still doing some stuff. Some cool things.
Were they Square or were they Squaresoft yet?
They were Squaresoft at the time.
Squaresoft at the time.
Okay.
And then they became Square, and then they merged and became Square Enix.
Yeah.
Which surprisingly, I don't know if this game is like referenced in any of their other games. Like,
there's a sequel.
There is a sequel, yes. I don't know if it's going to be on the podcast.
So as far as I know, it's kind of a standalone sequel. Like, it doesn't reference back to what we're talking about today.
It's a different game.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I saw that there was like a mobile game too.
Oh, really? That's something different.
Okay. Yeah, there's
I just want to say, I'm sorry.
There's a 2005 mobile like adaptation of the game.
Interesting.
I had fond memories of this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had seen the cover a lot in GameStop, and I was never that interested in playing it. And now that I have, this game kind of like broke my mind for like, I don't know. I've had like the weirdest week, and playing this game was just like ruining me. But not because of the game. There's just so much weird stuff going on. It was like sensory overload, basically. Because the woman who plays Mushashi sounds just like the voice actor who played Mega Man in Mega Man Legend.
I didn't think about that.
And so the entire time I was thinking about like Mega Man Legends. And then another character shows up named John, who's played by Steve Blum. But is Steve Blum doing kind of a higher pitched voice? So he, like, the lady who played Mushashi also kind of sounds like the lady who played Jim Hawkins in Outlaw Star. And then Steve Blum's doing a higher pitched voice. So he sounds like Gene Starwind from Outlaw Star. And his name is John, but that's only in like the English version. I found out in the Japanese version, his name is Gene, which is even more confusing. And then Mushashi looks like Twilight Suzuki from Outlaw Star. And it was like all this weird stuff happening in my brain, and then the fucking music started playing, and goddamn, the like one of the theme songs of this game, one of like the overworld themes that plays, it has this, you can tell how like desperate my mind was at this point. I was just breaking. There's a theme in this game that goes do 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 do. That's fucking Bizarre Love Triangle from New Order, and it was like driving me insane. Every time I see you falling, I get down on my knees and pray.
I broke Stu apparently this week, huh?
Basically, a million things kept happening that were reminding me of other things, and yeah, it's like sensory overload. I just couldn't handle it. Like the bad guys start showing up, and there's so much like bad guys from like Mega Man Legends.
Like, next time I pick this game, we need to go back in time maybe and play and change it out to Mega Man Legends instead.
Maybe.
So just as you were talking, I went ahead and looked up the voice actor for Mushashi. Her name is Mona Marshall.
Yeah.
She has done a lot of work.
What's even more confusing is that I think both she and Sandy Fox, who played Fillet or Filet, depending on if you say it right or wrong, depending on this game.
Princess Filet.
They were both in episodes of Wolf's Rain, and Sandy Fox played the like young Sailor Moon in Sailor Moon, and Mona Marshall was a character in Sailor Moon. It was like so many fucking like weird references were clicking in my head. I was like, I can't handle this. I can't do this.
I say Mona was Izzy in Digimon. She was Shiro in the Fate series.
I was trying to think of a way to like communicate this to Mike, and I couldn't come up with any solution aside from imagine if you went to see a new movie. You went to see like they came out with Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse 2, and they were like, okay, Chris Evans is gonna play Spider-Man. You're like, okay, that's a little strange. And then while you're watching the movie, they introduce Spider-Gwen, except now it's played by Scarlett Johansson, and then all the other Spider people are played by like Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, that would be a little
Chris
weird.
Hemsworth. And then they changed the theme song for the Avengers to one of like Taylor Swift's songs. You'd be like, what is going on?
This is not what I was expecting.
It was like too much.
But I should say why I picked this game. Because a lot of people who probably played this back in the 90s played it because it came with a demo of Final Fantasy VIII, which is why I originally even knew it existed. My buddy bought this just for the Final Fantasy VIII demo, and I remember seeing him play it, and I had memories of me beating this game back in early 2000s, and now I'm like, no, those memories are completely bullshit, because there was no way I beat this game as a kid. No way. This game, I mean, maybe it's just me. This game is really fucking hard.
Kids are more forgiving and generally a lot more patient with games, I find.
I'm not patient.
Like, I know I've beaten like Resident Evil 2 a number of times as a child. Like, how did I do that? I'm sure I saw the end screen of Resident Evil 2 like 1,000 times. Then going back because I was old, I'm like, God damn, this thing is just kicking my ass. I don't understand. I used to be so good at games when I was 8.
You shouldn't have been playing Resident Evil 2 at 8. But for those that don't know, this is an action RPG where you play as Mushashi, who is this kid who was summoned to save All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom, All-You-Can-Eat EET Kingdom, from the Thirst Quencher empires attacking them.
And that's another thing. Everyone's named after vegetables and foods, and all I could think was like in addition to all the other references, my brain was just going Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball. What is happening to me?
We'll talk about that later for Dragon Ball.
Yeah,
I mean, you're straight up. Straight up Dragon Ball references in this game. Straight up.
The good kingdom are named after food. All the characters in the evil empire are named after drinks.
Yes.
I didn't catch that for that.
Yeah, because they're the thirst quenchers. It's all you can eat kingdom versus the thirst quencher empire.
Yeah.
Butler livers and is root trick a drink? Oh, root beer, I guess, or
yeah. You make a lot of drinks out of fruits.
Probably my favorite name in the whole game was Shepherd Beefalo.
That's pretty good. I really liked John Capricola a lot. Capricola, which is great because it makes sense because he's we'll get into his character later, but
yeah,
he's like outside the kingdoms.
I did not remember this game correctly. I found out I had fond memories of this game. I thought this was a cool, strange little game. It's still a cool game. Man, did I get my ass handed to me. If I wouldn't have had save states, I wouldn't have seen halfway through this game easy. I would never have made it.
I'm sure we'll talk about it at the end, but this is a game that desperately needs a remaster, so it plays way better. I think this game could succeed, but it desperately needs updated controls. It is clunky.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was just my controller, but there were a lot of times when I was trying to do a double jump later in the game where he would, instead of doing a double jump, he would just do the second part of the jump and fall and die.
Yeah, I definitely had some issues with jumping. Okay. It's worth noting that a lot of JRPGs at this time were turn-based, and the reason behind that was because it was just easier on the player.
Yeah.
Real-time combat wasn't quite where it's at, but I mean, credit to this game for doing real-time combat. And
plus, this game doesn't have a normal leveling system. You earn your body, whatever the hell that does, go up. Your mind goes up. Your two swords, Fusion and Lumina, go up, depending on how much you use the swords. And so the more you hit with a sword, the more that sword will end up leveling up, which will end up leveling up your character, which doesn't increase your HP or your MP. Your MP is only increased by rescuing the villagers that are inside big green crystals called Bincho, and that raises your MP. You'll find them throughout the world. You have to explore and find these people, which is weird.
Which is hard because it presents the Bincho fields and saving the villagers as an optional, side quest. You want to get them all if you really care, but at the same time, there's a good half of them, I'd say, are you have to have them or you can't progress the story.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. The story is so much of the story is also giving you BP, or you'll get to a story beat and it's brave Fencer Mushashi has upgraded to extra 50 BP. It's okay, I didn't realize that was also happening.
Yeah,
which was good because I'm glad that the story leveled me up because I admit that I did not fight very many enemies in this game.
You don't have
I realized that you can pretty much just run by everything.
That's right.
And also, one thing about this game is as I was saying, you have two swords, and one of the swords, if you hold down R1 and then throw your sword, you can suck in an enemy's ability and you get different abilities. I did not use that almost the entire game. I just used my two swords, and I realized how wrong I was playing this game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm weird. In RPGs, I don't like to use MP, so I will save every MP I get. In this game, it's no, use it. Don't save it. You have, and I just didn't play that way. And it wasn't until after I finished this game, I'm I played this way wrong.
My observation was that you really don't need to be conservative with your Bincho points at all, because the villagers that you save, when you save them, you get a small boost to your max BP, and it fills it up for you.
Yeah,
and they're spread out pretty evenly. That if you're just going, barely out of your way to find another Bincho field, you're never suffering for.
Yeah, it's pretty liberal. This is one of those JRPGs where you could feasibly finish and be so insanely overpowered that the boss fight is just nothing.
It helps. I mean, the game will help get you ready for things. Mm-hmm. I never felt too ready. Also, this game has a in-game time system that is moving on, where as you play through the game, your guy gets tired. Mushashi will get tired, and time will flow, and certain stores are closed certain times, and certain events only happen at certain. You can usually just sleep whenever the hell you need to, just pass out, and then more time will pass that way, which I had to do a lot.
I like how sometimes you wake up and you're like, shit, I'm late.
And also the way that you increase your health in this game is, I don't like it, but it's cool, but I really don't like it. You have to find these little rabbit-looking monsters that will leave a little shit pellet around during the day, and then if you sleep somewhere nearby and go to where the shit pellet was, I'm saying shit pellet, you will find a little rabbit creature that you can grab it, and if you pick it up, then you get a longevity berry, and then you increase your health. And yes, this game is complicated and strange.
It's very odd. I like,
and it actually says it in the game that these they're called minkus. They hold the longevity berries in their mouth, and to get them to spit it out, you have to pick them up and throw them.
Yeah, it's very odd, but I like the general. I like when there's a common theme in especially JRPGs that kind of ties everything together.
Yeah.
Like I like, like Final Fantasy is so developed as a franchise at this point that you just know you're in a Final Fantasy city the second you see it.
Okay, I missed something I just realized.
What's that?
I never fought the Mother Minku.
Oh.
Which only happens if you find all 13 throughout the game. Yeah, you unlock.
I did. I just didn't go do that because the guide I was reading didn't tell me to.
I also did not fight them because I did not look that hard for Mother Minkus.
I would say I want to go back, but I don't want to go back ever. So,
if this game got the entire time playing it, I just kept thinking, if this game got a remaster for the Switch, I'd probably love it. Like if it came out, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna remake Musashi, and we're gonna put it on Switch." Like after Square is done, finally finishing fucking Final Fantasy VII, whatever that. So in 20 years when that's finally done. And I don't know. I was playing this. I was like, the combat's kind of ahead of its time. I would really like to play a modern version of this because it reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy 15, where you can throw the weapons around and teleport and stuff, but they only use your fusion ability with the katana and absorb energy and change the kind of abilities you have. That was really cool.
Yeah,
it was
different elemental properties. You have to find 5 scrolls throughout the game, and they all have different elemental properties, which get you a new skill set. It's a really
new abilities. I like that.
Yeah, it's a really well made. It's a really well formed concept.
Yeah,
just stuck in a really clunky system.
I mean, even this game opens up with a bang because you only start with 1 or 2 swords, and you're running right down a road, fighting enemies, jumping over rocks, climbing up a tower. Then you get chased by, after you grab the other sword, you get chased by a big head, and you got to run and dodge stuff like you're playing an old Mickey Mouse game from Super Nintendo, what it reminded me of. And it was cool. I was really on board in the beginning. In the first boss fight, I was completely on board with this game at first.
You mean the first boss fight from Mega Man Legends? It's the same fucking fight. That was a giant mechanical knight-looking monster with 4 legs. I was like, what is going on? What is happening to my brain?
I mean, Stefan actually had messaged me right after that. He's like, what the hell? I don't like this because that fight, there's a certain part if he lands, when the boss lands a certain way, you think you can hit him, but you can't hit him because the game's like, no, he has to be over here.
Because
to hit him, he goes up against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he got irritated. He's like, I don't like this game.
It's very clunky, but it's also they try to go for something really cinematic, which I appreciate. Like that first boss fight, there's a point where you hit what's the name of the enemy? Do you remember?
Steam Knight.
The Steam Knight. When you hit it, it flies back and slams into the wall, down this long hallway. And I was like, oh, that's a really cool scene. That would look really good in a modern game.
And then this little munchkin character that you are picks him up and throws him through the wall.
Yeah. It's I like the idea that you're this tiny little kid, even though you're not really I couldn't tell if you were meant to be a kid or if they
you're
just
not a kid.
You're summoned, right?
Yeah, because you were summoned, which I hadn't mentioned, because 150 years ago, which I did not know this because I just read this as we were talking this, the legendary brave Fencer Mushashi saved Allucaneet Kingdom and defeated the Wizard of Darkness, and that's where they resummoned you because they need help fighting the Thirst Quencher Empire. But they get a little kid and they're all upset saying, oh, we screwed up. We summoned the wrong person. Get rid of this guy. And they already don't like you right from the beginning.
And you're actually playing as young Fencer Mushashi. At no point in this game do you play as like the real Musashi. You're him as a kid. But I like that concept a lot. I like that we need this hero. And I screwed up the summon and I got like the hero 20 years too early. I really like that idea. I like how this game starts too, with one exception, where the game straight up opens up with like the princess and her like cadre of annoying servants running down the stairwell and being like, we need to do something, like the princess is gonna get kidnapped or killed, and like we need to summon a hero. Or they're just like, we need to do something. She's like, I'll summon the hero. And they're like, are you sure? Like, we don't know if you're ready. It's a great little build up. My only exception to that is it Ribbon? the one servant who talks in like ye olde English might be
Ribson.
The scribe. Ribson.
Yeah. He might be my most hated character in any game now. He might be the most hated character. He is I legitimately, before we started this episode, I was like, how can I possibly communicate how much more I hate this character than Kraden from Golden Sun?
For those that want to hear more, please tune in episode 4.
Yeah, the first character I hated in the game.
Well, it's probably because this one has a voice actor. In Golden Sun, you don't actually hear him. It's all in your head.
That's true. He's just
annoying. I think Stu heard him. Heard him somehow.
At first, I was like, okay, like they're going for like a joke. And I was like, this character is going to like die or something or not be that important. But no, he's like the princess's main servant. Like he's her head servant. So you talk to him multiple times throughout the game. And it's just a joke that goes on for so long. Like by his first interaction in the opening cutscene, I was like, oh God, is this going to be like the whole game? He talks basically like this. He's like, oh, Sir Musashi, doeth thou goeth and getteth the princess and bringeth her back to the castle? Like, it's too much. It's too much.
I didn't listen to anything.
It's that old timey English with the duff.
But it's like intentionally wrong and too much.
But it's bad old
It's
English.
Like it's like a bad cartoon. It's just relying on this very simple joke for far too long. And I like part of my heart
every interaction with him ends with "taketh care on your journey."
Yeah.
I stopped reading. I did not give a shit what people had to say.
It's awful. I like every other character in this game for the most part, but like just every time Ribson showed up on screen, I was like, oh God, this asshole. I'm gonna have to listen to him talk.
I skipped all the voiceover. Like I would just hit the button as fast as I could and just keep going. I didn't want to. They talk too slow for my attention span.
I only did it when he was talking
because like the dialogue and not the dialogue, the voice acting and the story beats are genuinely good.
Yeah, they're pretty entertaining. It's got a nice little. It's not a very like big game. It kind of feels big, but it's got like a nice little.
It's like a 15-20 hour game.
Yeah, I was looking up to see like how quick some people beat it, and I saw some people beat it in like 4 hours. Like,
damn.
Yeah. And I was watching.
I found a speed run that's a little over 2 hours.
Jeez, yeah. So it's got like just enough JRPG elements and tropes, and it's really isolated. It's a big world, but it's got a very isolated story that's pretty entertaining to me, and it fits really well. There's not a lot of characters, so the characters that they do they're pretty fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice little early RPG. Like you have Musashi, who's like a little kid, but he's supposed to be like this legiondary samurai, but it turns out he's like this kind of annoying kid that is a little bit too arrogant.
He's a snarky bastard too.
Yeah, he's snarky. He's this hero before the hero learns like humility and modesty and like bravery, essentially.
And he's not the only character either. Like the princess too. The princess that you're trying to save.
The princess who, for some reason, sounds like a valley girl.
Snobby is not the right word, but
kind of. Yeah, a little. Yeah, I mean, she's voiced like a valley girl, and she has that kind of attitude. So,
just very much like, come on, Musashi, beat him up already.
Yeah, very. Yeah, I'd say stuck up is a good word for it. She's stuck up, or she kind of she's kind of entitled, but it makes sense because she's a princess character. So like, she's not overly entitled. Like that was another character I thought, oh god, this could get annoying really fast. She's pretty good. I mean, she's doing stuff as well. She's, participating in the story and like until she gets kidnapped. But you have to have the princess kidnap section of the game.
She gets kidnapped like 5 times though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You rescue her a couple times.
That's 90s JRPGs, man.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
You gotta have to forgive that for the 90s. We're past that now. With like Final Fantasy 15, where like the princess is doing more shit, arguably, than the lead character.
I still never played that game.
I love that game. I recognize that a lot of people don't like it, so I always recommend it with like imagine playing kind of like a parody of a Final Fantasy. But
I really want to.
I think
it's a good when that's gonna happen.
It's far too big to
I never did get around to playing it.
I think, it's like an 80-hour game, so I would not recommend it for the podcast. It is a big game.
I mean, this game took me 10 hours, but I was using save states and I was using a guide that was probably longer than 10 hours altogether with the amount of time I've fucked up on things. I mean, also, this game is not forgiving. Like, you die, the save points are not very close to each other.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, there's really only one true save point, and that's the hotel in the main village.
Yep.
There are a few what they call memory boxes, which are your temporary saves. A small spattering of them throughout the game.
Yeah, but games like this have really like made me appreciate other games I've played that I thought had bad saves before. Like I love Star Ocean till the end of the time. It's like I think it's a fantastic JRPG. I love it. Again, it's a game that I recognize is not for everybody, but I love it. The only saves in that game are like you go into a dungeon and you can save before you go into the dungeon, and that's it. Like every now and then a dungeon will have a save midway through, but those are like those are like 3-hour dungeons, basically.
Fuck.
And I always thought like, oh, that's like awful. That's terrible. And then going back to like games like this, like, oh yeah, they were just doing whatever they could to give us saves at that point.
I mean, even like this game has a lot of epic moments. Like even in chapter 2, it's kind of epic and you have to go climb this mountain, which has a part that was kind of cool, like where you ride a raft, where all of a sudden now the game is like a not 2D, but like a 3D action platformer where you're trying to jump over rocks and dodge things. And oh god, without the frickin' save states, I never would have made it. It took me 5 to 10 tries on one frickin' rock to get past without getting hurt. I'm just like, okay, this is ridiculous.
The other thing I really appreciate about the game though is that it's not like it's not like just typical. Yeah, it combined, like,
there is a lot of variety in the use of mechanics.
A very early boss fight you go into and you're like, it turns out to not be a boss fight. You're just climbing somebody, like you're trying to out climb somebody to the top of a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a rhythm game for a second. It's like, okay, like we're doing something there. I mean, literally there's a boss fight in this game where it's a dance off.
Like, God, it's fucking terrible.
How you
I figured out what to do.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, but I like that. I don't like how hard it was.
I had to. Yeah, it took a lot of save states.
I was trying to think of like kind of RPGs now, especially games are very story heavy, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I like that games are very story heavy. I like games that are like, we're going to try to tell this in a really like thematically strong way. But I was like, there's not a lot of games that come out now as a single player game where halfway through it's like, okay, like this is the dance off competition. Like you could argue Yakuza has sections like that, but those aren't the main sections of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza is so different too.
Yeah,
I mean, this game is
another game that's doing those kinds of things. It's like I can't think of
this
like
game. It's constantly changing. Like I mean, even like the first real boss fight with the Crest Guardian, you're fighting a giant scorpion inside a hole in like a coliseum where you have to use your ability to shake the earth to make rocks or bombs fall. I'm like, it's kind of a cool fight. I mean, this game is very epic, I felt like. I mean, I was entertained as much as I was getting frustrated and dying and failing. It really was an interesting, cool game. Like, the levels are the different world. I mean, the different places you go to. I mean, you go to the same places multiple times throughout the game because everything is connected to the town. But as you get new abilities, you go to different places within that areas you were, and you keep finding new things. And I thought it was very interesting.
It feels very Mega Man Legends, but in the same way where it's like, it's funny, but it's funny in a way that's like also ties into the gameplay, and it's nice. It's kind of refreshing, despite the game being really clunky. It's refreshing to see that people have been trying in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, with Yakuza doing that kind of thing now, where it's it's a really dark, gritty game, but it has these moments of really really nice and funny levity. I'd like to see that come back for a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, the game is always a joke to itself. Like they're joking about you the entire time. They're joking about everything throughout this entire game. Like, no, I mean, even though it's a very serious thing, like the world's going to end if you don't stop what you're doing. They're going to destroy the empire if you don't. I mean, Allucaneet Kingdom if you don't stop. Like, there are big. Like, here's one part in chapter 3 when there's a kid that will die if you're not fast enough. He'll turn into a zombie vampire, a Bambi.
Yeah, a Bambi.
Yeah, and it's not even a. If you don't get it to him in time, you fail and start over. It's if dead. You don't get it to him in time, he's dead, and his mother is and his mother, who runs the grocery store, is grieving. So you can no longer buy healing items.
It's got
they do that?
Yeah.
That's fucking terrible.
It's got a very classic 80s anime feel to it. Again, like Outlaw Star, where it's like, okay, the stakes are real. Halfway, I love Outlaw Star. It's one of my favorite animes because, again, the stakes are real. But halfway through that show, they have to enter a strongest women of the universe contest, and it turns into a weird wrestling anime for an episode. It's like, okay, the stakes are real. They need money because they've got to get to this place because they've got to save the day. But we're gonna have some fun along the way. They're gonna be in some wacky scenarios.
Yes,
and this game has that same tone of the stakes are real. These people are trying, people are dying. People are trying to kill the princess. People are trying to kill you. But it's going to be a little wacky.
Everything, even early on in that same chapter with the Vambies, when you sleep at night and walk around the town, you will see these blue werewolf-looking things just wandering around. And when you go into the place, you find the owner is drunk on soda pop. It says in the edit in this version.
Yeah,
but he's drunk off his ass on beer and liquor. All these liquor bottles are all over the place, and he's hiccuping. And it's but humor. And he's like, oh, all the treasure was a stupid belt. Because in the end, when you finally open the door, you get, which is the legendary belt for you, which lets you double jump. He's like, oh, you get the stupid belt. I released these Vambies for nothing. And you're like, wait a second. It's just so cartoony, and you find out that the whole thing was all, the kid almost died because this guy was greedy and dumb. It's such a weird game. I
I kept thinking that there's an episode of Naruto where Rock Lee accidentally, it's a whole drunken fist. It's also a very serious episode, but it's very, very funny.
Oh, it's one of the coolest fights in the whole series.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. But I think in the English translation, in the Japanese version, he drank sake. In the English version, Mike Guy was like, "Oh, he drank my elixir. Oh no!" It's your elixir, and everyone's acting like, "Oh my god, Rock Lee drank elixir. He's just a child." It's why are they so upset about him drinking his elixir? I don't understand. Then at some point they're like, well, that elixir was made of 60% special juice. And it's oh, okay. That's some strong elixir.
Some of the characters were renamed too. One name is named Bubbles, but it was supposed to be Lieutenant Liquor and Lieutenant Brandy, and now it's Lieutenant Ginger Ale, and Rutrick was supposed to be Bordeaux, whatever the hell that is.
Bordeaux. It's a wine.
Bordeaux. Okay. And the big villain in the game that gets squished later on,
fancy, but
named Flatsky. His name is Japanese. His name supposed to be Tequila.
Yeah,
pure tequila.
I guess you want that E rating, but I don't know. I feel it's such an odd change to be oh, this character isn't Tequila. He's Flatsky because soda can get flat and tequila is flat. I guess I don't know. It's very strange.
It's such a weird game. All the time we're playing this, I'm just what the fuck did I do to us? I was so excited.
And the whole collecting action figures.
Is there any point to that?
No.
Oh, okay, good. Fun. I like the character played by Steve Blum, John Capricola. At first, I was like, why did they change his name? His name is John Walker in the Japanese version, like Johnny Walker. I was like, oh, okay. I like that. I like Turtle Johnny Walker. That's a cool name. I would love to play a game where like the bad guys are like Johnny Walker and Jack Daniels and Jim Beam coming after you.
This game has so many weird story beats, and it hits them. Like, there's a character you run into, one of the villains, who when she like teleports, a bunch of hearts go spraying all over the screen as she teleports. Like, it's just
Well, she's like the Vambi. You're talking about the Vambi lady, right?
Yeah, you never fight her.
Well, no, she's the one you dance off with, right?
No, that's that's her sister, her friend, or whoever the hell she is.
Okay, that's not Ginger Ale, is it? Wait, no,
that's Bubbles.
That's Bubbles.
I don't remember.
There's so many characters.
No, I think it is Ginger Ale that like controls the Vambis.
Yeah, I like that though. She's like the leader of the Vambis, but the entire time you fight these Vambis, you kind of expect like, because the Vambis they're pretty serious enemies. They're vampires and zombies, and they look a little goofy, but the game treats them as dangerously as a zombie vampire would be.
They're tough too.
Yeah, and they're hard to beat.
Because they latch onto you and they they hurt.
They're basically like a mix of like Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde and the fucking mummies from Zelda. So like the ones that jump on your face and scream.
Oh,
Redeads, yeah. It's like a mix of Redead and like Mr. Hyde. And they'll kick your ass. And so the entire time it's like, okay, like we gotta find out who's running these Vambis, who's running like this operation here. And you get in, it's like kind of it's a very like little like feminine girl. It's like maybe like 13. She's like, guys, we have to stop Musashi. He's gonna kill us all. Oh, and she teleports away in hearts. It's just like, okay, I like that.
I like have to go dry my hair now. Like, bye.
Yeah,
such a weird game, and
it's very serious villains. If every character was a bad guy from Sailor Moon, basically.
Hey, there is a Sailor Moon RPG, by the way. For Super
Yes, there is. It might. I might have already considered it for my list.
I really, really want to play it. So if you put it on the show, I will not object.
I don't know how long it is.
We can make it happen. But like even one boss that irritated me was when you're down underneath the restaurant and you fight the Relic Keeper. And it's like a giant golem holding up the ceiling, who then summons a fireball to chase after. You got to fight a big fireball because you just get the water power at this point in the game. I did not enjoy that fight at all. That was one of my
actually. So that's interesting.
Well, that was a little fun. I liked all the. I mean, the boss fights in this game were tough, but not necessarily for the right reasons. Everything in this game is like hard to do, but just because the game is kind of clunky.
Well, also, it loves the whole idea of you're going to wait, and you're going to wait, and the ability opens up, and then you can hit them, and you got to wait again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm fine. I like that. I'm very big on like forcing me to be patient. I know a lot of people aren't, but I like boss fights where it's like, okay, you have to attack them at this time, and you have to wait for like their vulnerability to be open.
Well, I will say, especially regarding the boss fights, but it also applies to like destinations and continuing the story, that this game does suffer in a lack of consistency. Like at some points it'll say very clearly, like, this is what you need to do, this is how to beat this boss. And then other times you just walk into a hall and, hey, it's boss time.
Yeah, it mixes everything up a lot. It's in like one thing I'll say about this game is that I never really knew what to expect from the next fight, because they're so different, and some of them, like you said, some of them come at you just out of nowhere. It's like, okay, we're doing a boss fight now. It's like, oh, okay, all right, sure, yeah, let's get into it. I'll be ready up.
I mean, and you aren't. I mean, they're all kind of difficult too. I mean, like one when I fought this is an easy boss fight. I'm like, no, this is not. I mean, it's just. The game does a good job with varying, because usually in Zelda fashion, if you get a new ability, either Earth, Wind, Water, Fire, it has you use them somehow in the boss fight that you have to do, which was cool. Like, I did enjoy that whole Zelda thing style. Didn't like it.
Is it the exact opposite of Didn't we say like when we played Ghostbusters, we're like this whole game is fun, but the boss fights are a little bad.
Yeah.
It's like the exact opposite. We're like the boss fights are all really interesting, but then like the rest of the game is
I
like
didn't like them.
it's a little rough.
The whole game is just just rough.
I will be finishing it.
Coming back.
Yeah,
I can't believe you're playing the real version, not the version where you can hit save, load, save, load.
yeah.
I don't think I would mind playing the second version because I was like looking stuff up for it, and well, first of all, the main character from the second one looks just like fucking Sora from Kingdom Hearts, like to a T. But I was like, this.
I've
this
never
looks a
played
nicer.
Musashi Samurai Legend, so I'm 100% up for it someday.
Yeah.
And
I
to
should have looked it up
answer
too because I didn't know if I was like, I know I've heard the name Musashi. Not, I was like, I don't know if
And
it's
to answer
referencing this, but I've heard it. But Musashi was actually like a famous samurai, like a real life samurai in Japan.
Which of course, as a
I'm
kid,
assuming
I
he
didn't know
didn't have. I'm assuming he couldn't double jump and have magic sword beats.
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, but he was in fact famous for using a two-sword fighting style.
Yeah. And he was like a famous like philosopher. Like he was like the ideal version of a samurai in Japanese culture. He was a samurai. He was a philosopher. He was like a strategist. He was like the Renaissance man samurai.
That's pretty cool.
He was supposedly like excelled in every field he did. I was looking up these, I got significantly worse reviews, but
oh yeah, people don't like the second one nearly as much. A lot of people surprisingly really like this game. Like I was surprised when I asked for questions, which we'll be reading later. A lot of people were very positive about this game, and I'm just curious if anyone's played it recently. But there were a lot of
fairly well.
I could definitely say, like just like you were saying earlier, Mike, that I remember playing the demo disc. Well, I remember playing the game. But I thought I was playing the full game, but it must have just been the demo.
Well, FF8
now playing the full game, it's like, I really do like this, but controls are really clunky. The platforming is brutal.
Yes, it is. I mean, normally you don't die if you fail.
Way more to falling off the edges than getting hit by bad guys.
Yeah, there's so much platforming in this game, and it's like that. I think to me that was the weakest part, just because the game controls very poorly, and so it was like extra hard for me to navigate those areas.
The way I compared this game is you got, like the Reese's commercial, you got platform in my RPG, you got RPG in my platformer, is the best way to describe this game.
Yeah, but it's like, the platforming is like the Reese's that has like been in the pantry for a year, and like, it's like, it hasn't really gone bad, but it's just not right anymore.
And it's in that era of, just like, Mega Man Legends was, but where it's in the era of early 3D platformers where the genre was very hit and miss.
Yeah,
and you had a lot of the classic 2D games trying to bridge the gap into 3D world, and some new hitters like Musashi and
it was standing out. I mean, this is the same year as like Xenogears. I mean, this is 98, so there's 1,000 games that came out in 98, but it's like the same year as Star Ocean, The Second Story, and Xenogears, and Panzer Dragoon.
Yeah,
I played two.
I hadn't thought of this before, but some of the reviews that I was watching on YouTube in preparation for this made mention of how like this game was put out by Square between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah,
so that's very much it was not a hallmark project for them.
Yeah, but you can tell they like
to make
fans coming.
But
at the same time, they had made clear that they were hoping for Musashi to be on par with Zelda. That it was gonna.
Oh wow!
It's not.
It's not. But
there are actually some reports saying that Square wanted Musashi to be a Legend of Zelda killer.
It's definitely not, but that's something you have to appreciate about early Square, where I don't want to say Square doesn't care now, because I think they certainly do care about their games, clearly, but it's like Square back in the day was one of those companies that just, like, they gave a shit. They gave so much shit about every single thing they did. to say like, okay, we're going to put this out in between two of our biggest RPGs of our all time, but we still want to put the time in and like make it stand out and make it unique and give it some charm.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a Zelda killer, but you can feel that there was like intent behind this.
Because Ocarina of Time isn't too long after this, I want to say, right around this time, Ocarina. I can't remember what year.
Yeah, I think so.
It is close.
This came out in July of 98.
Yeah. October here.
Oh, this came out in October of 98. And then Ocarina of Time came out in November. So it actually came out right before it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so I imagine then, like with that in mind, it makes a lot of sense them saying this is going to kill Zelda, because up to that point, the only Zelda games were 2D. And I mean, like Ocarina of Time, like fucking changed everything. So
yeah. Then Ocarina of Time comes out and it's like, now this is what 3D platforming is.
Yeah, they probably saw Ocarina come out. They were like, well, we've lost. Let's go home. They could making Final Fantasy games forever.
They do for a while. A couple of things I do want to say about Chapter 4 is you also have the Ice Palace, because, of course, RPG, you got to have an ice place.
Gotta have an ice palace.
I did not. I didn't like it. But you get shoes really quick that let you not slip around. I'm like, it's this nuts. Because you get, throughout this game, we haven't mentioned, you get legendary armor, which gives you stupid abilities that aren't really that useful for the most part. But you can get them throughout the game. You'll find junk. Some junk you sell. Some junk is the arm that you can use that will lead to better things.
Seems to be a running theme with the games we play on this show is ice areas that immediately give you something that nullify the ice.
Forces.
It's happened. Yeah, it happened in Dark Forces. It happened in like a couple other games we played. It didn't happen in. It wasn't Castlevania. We played another game that was very similar, where it's like, okay, this is the ice area, and immediately like, oh, here's the shoes, so the ice area is no longer an issue. It's like, why even?
I can't remember. I don't think
it's ice area.
And let's also give mention to the other hallmark of early JRPGs. Something's about to blow up. You need to go fix it.
Yeah.
Events.
Like it's like the very beginning of Final Fantasy VII, where it's like, oh, everything's blowing up. You gotta get the hell out.
Which in this game, there's several of them. The first one is easily the worst, where you have to fix the steam tree.
Oh God!
It's going to blow up in 24 hours. But if you actually look at the 24-hour counter up in the corner, and it's going by like. It's counting down by half seconds.
Okay, all right, yes. This actually was driving me insane. I thought I couldn't tell if like my game was broken or what. There's a point where like, yeah, a clock comes on later too. I think it's John who you like come across, and he's like, yo, you have to go like do this thing in 12 minutes. And 12 minutes shows up in the top right of the screen, and it counts down.
That's
so
when you have to
fast.
Get the medicine for the little kid, and you have to get it in 12 hours.
Yeah, and it's like, the time is going so quickly, and I'm like, "What is my game broken? What is wrong?" It's so bizarre that it gives you 12 hours, but it counts down. I guess that was part of their mechanic of saying like, okay, if we make 12 hours last 12 minutes, that's too long. Which, to be fair, games do that. Like, I think GTA is the early GTAs were like really bad about that. I think where it would go from like day to night very fast. Yeah, we'll find out. Like GTA 3, it's like an hour was like that kind of set the stand for an hour is a minute.
Yeah.
And, like to go back to a game where an hour is only 30 seconds, it's like holy shit! Like I feel like I have no time.
Yeah, it's the in-game
time
so passes really weird.
Yeah,
like I think strange. My current save file, the in-game time says I'm on day 38, but I have only 6 hours of play.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I wonder if they said, okay, 24 hours is going to be 24 minutes. And then they put all the clocks in and they like figure that out. And then somebody down the line was like, 12 minutes is too long to do this task. So let's just speed up the days so that a full day is actually only 12 minutes. And they were like, okay. And then they just didn't go back and look at the clocks. So
and here's the real dirty part. Like with those timer events, the timer that you see up in the corner does not count at the same rate as the in-game clock that's down at the bottom. Yeah, so they are not consistent with another.
Those small things. It's just like it just needs like remaster this game in and tweak it a little bit. Just crank up the quality just a tiny amount, and I think it would do very, very well.
But I do gotta say that one boss I did enjoy, which is not everything in this game, I like the Ice Dragon. He looked cool as hell. And it also kind of fit the theme of these boss fights, where it's in 3 different areas. You fight them in one spot, then you gotta fight them as you're running across a hallway or across a bridge, then you have to fight him in this final room, then the room drops down, then you can finally fight him and hurt him. Like, it was very cool fighting the Frost Dragon.
And there's one of the parts of the fights he's like coming in from off the screen. And I mean, I'm a sucker for those boss fights that are like when bosses are so big they can't fit on the screen. I think that's so cool. Yeah, I was just like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like he's coming in from the top of the screen and he's just like he is taking up so much room, and it's it gives you some anxiety, but it's just really cool too.
Well, and that's just a testament to the different bosses you encounter.
I didn't like them, but they were very cool. So
it's definitely, no 2 bosses are the same. That's for sure.
Everything is unique, and that's good. I mean, it's better to be unique. I think generally as a rule, in my mind, it's better to be unique and kind of fail than to just do the same boss fight that's in every game and succeed.
It's like we played Parasite Eve too.
Well, we'll get there.
That's a unique game, all right, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I might end up eating those words because of this podcast, but
I'll find more weird shit. That's the reason I picked this game. This game is weird. Let's see what Stu thinks.
I know Mike is now actively searching for weird games for me to play, and my list for next season is the most normal games that everybody knows. Just talking to some people about. I'm like, yeah, these are very standard games. I have a very boring pick for the person who always excels on how great weird games are.
Our next season will be interesting.
Yeah, but I like.
How about ants? Do you like ants? I don't like ants. I found out.
Generally I like ants in video games, but in this game they're a little annoying.
Come to think of it, I don't know that I've ever liked ants in games. They seem to just they don't make good bosses.
What about
Half-Life? Defense Force.
I don't remember them in Half-Life.
I don't never played Half-Life.
They show up for a little bit in Half-Life 2, and they show up more in the episode 2.
Yeah, that's right. In Half-Life 2, there's the ant lions.
Yeah, and then the ant lion queen shows up in the other games. I think it's
speaking of Earth Defense Force.
Oh yeah,
those are a lot of ants in that game.
But that's what makes you think of your brother, him and his damn Defense Force.
Oh, he loves it.
Yeah, I know. I see posts all the time.
I'm not gonna lie, I love Earth Defense Force.
I do too.
Those games are so wacky and strange, and there's nothing like them.
I mean, the part that really made me angry this game was I was talking about ants. Is you have a whole chapter dedicated to fucking ants, and you can't hurt some of them are just invincible, and you're running through this terrible mine, terrible platform. You can get fucking poisoned, which is god awful because he walks super slow like he's gonna die, and you gotta jump to move it at a more normal speed. Oh god, I would load every time.
If there was one point going through the mines where I don't even care. It's gonna take way too long to run back to town to buy another antidote because I'm all out of them. But I do have an item that when you die, you recover all your health, heal your status ailment. So I'm just going to keep jumping off this edge until I die, and I'm not poisoned anymore.
Oh, also a part that we had forgotten about is there's just... Oh, God, now the memory lost me. Oh, God. I'll come back to me. I forgot what I wanted to say. But what I was going to say, with the ants, I just hated everything about fighting the fucking ants. Oh, I remember. Before you get to the ants, you have to repair the gondola at one point in chapter 4, and you have to get this gear. And I have the guy tells me, grab the gear that looks like this. I had to grab all 4 gears, run back and forth 5-6 times before I finally got past it. It took me an hour when it should have taken me 10 minutes. I was so pissed off. And I think that was a me personal thing. That wasn't the game. It was just me having issues. Oh, it made me angry. Okay, back to the ants. When you're running through the tunnel with the ants, I was just nothing but irritated with the ant. And then you have a minecart part that's kind of like the raft, but you're heading towards the screen and you have to dodge ants and boulders. And my God, I don't know if that would have been possible without save states for me. I was dying. I was saving after every single one, and I still barely got through that. And I was getting hit so many times. Like, and you have to diagonally go through stuff, and it's hard to tell. Oh, anyone else do you have a problem with that, Stu? Or
not too badly. Okay. I don't know. I didn't mind that section. Again, it's like it worked well enough. It worked well enough, but it's like I had to keep like this is one of those games I have to keep in my head saying, okay, this is how this is playing. How is this meant to work? Like, what was their intention for this area? So I was like, I'm having trouble with this. I see what they were going for, and it was really interesting, but it was definitely annoying after a while.
Okay.
It was.
I haven't made it to that part yet, so I think I'm at the part where that Mike was just describing of going down in the mine and trying to find the right gear to fix the gondola. That's where I saved it last.
I like how many different areas show up in this game.
6 or 7, I feel like.
It's like 7, like,
there's
but
6 chapters, but there's different areas.
Yeah, there's different areas in each chapter. Like each area you go to feels pretty fleshed out.
There's the mountain, there's the forest, and then a few dungeons. Like there's the dungeon underneath the town.
Yeah, I think
the mines.
I would say there's like 7 because there's one for each scroll, the starting area and then the final area. Because after you find the sky scroll, you go to the Thirst Quencher base.
Some of the scrolls though don't have like their own area. They're just in like a new part of an existing area that you now have access to.
But even that's like, I like how all the worlds feel pretty unique. Like, and they all make sense to their scrolls. Like, you typically find the ice scroll in the icy area. The sky scroll is kind of up in the sky.
With the fire scroll in the ice area.
You find the water scroll at the bottom of an underground lake.
Yeah.
And then you immediately go to a fire dungeon to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you find the scrolls in the wrong areas, but I took that to be like, I was like, okay, that's like an interesting little twist on this. Like the fire scroll's in the ice area. Why is that there? Oh, because you need the fire for the ice. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. You wouldn't really need a fire ability in a fire area. But yeah, I like how like the areas have it's very Ocarina of Time, where like each dungeon has its overall theme.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the swamp and the mountains, you have, you know, the ice area, the fire area. These little like basically this kingdom is just in a total calamity. All JRPG kingdoms are surrounded by chaos. It's just like, oh yes, like don't go north. That's where that's the desert where everything catches on fire.
And I mean, even like in the last part when you finally get the side. Oh, wait, I should finish up the ant part. And I had a really hard time fighting the queen of ants too. Like the first time I played it, I got my ass handed to me. Even though I was using save states, I still got fucked up. And I was like, screw this, I'm done. Because she has an attack that will automatically kill you, I want to say, where she grabs you, pulls you into her chest, and you just get stabbed to death till you die. Like, I don't think there's a way out of it.
Other than just having enough health to tank it.
No, you just automatically die, I think. Like, really? She will just kill you. She'll hold you till you die. Because the guy at least said, you get caught, you're dead, don't get caught. So maybe I'm wrong, I didn't find out because I just loaded it every time. You fight on her belly, and you have to jump over her and fight maggots that she spawns until she does an attack, until you hit her enough times in the head after each cycle, and then you can hit her weak spot, and you know it did a lot of that. But that fight broke me. I couldn't imagine doing it without save states.
This game has I tried to look up like a bunch of information on this game because sort of behind the scenes, usually when we play a game, I'll pull up a wiki and I'll like go through the game's wiki and like information that people have posted in there. That's where I get like a lot of the trivia and stuff. If I don't know it off the top of my head. And this game's wiki is just like desperately underwritten.
Well, this is an underrated game too. Like this is not a well-known RPG.
Yeah, I was just surprised though because I was like, I looked it up. Yeah. And like, surely. I know this game is underground, but it does have a following. And I wouldn't go so far to say it's a cult classic, but people play this game still.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I was surprised how many people have responded later to me. I'm going to read for this game. Like there are a lot of people who have very fond memories of this game.
Yeah, it's Square Enix says like I've seen the character Musashi in some stuff they've done, like some like look back videos. So like clearly they give a shit about this character. So I was very surprised because I was like, oh, there's like the wiki is like it barely has any information on like the main characters. Like it looks like one or two people have written in it, and that's pretty much it. So my call to action for all the Musashi fans out there is go fill out that wiki. That's usually a sign of a good game. If it has a full wiki, then it's a game that people care about.
I wouldn't say it's a good game. Fallout has a full wiki, and that's not a good game.
Hey now. Stalker has like an insanely detailed wiki.
It's a good game. It's just hard.
I love Stalker.
I do. I don't love Stalker. I never want to play it again. But
spent a lot of time on that wiki. But yeah, I was like trying to look up information. I was like, I can't find like anything on this game. I was like, I could find a fair amount of walkthroughs and stuff. I was like looking up. I was like, there's a fair amount of speed runs. There's a fair amount of walkthroughs and game facts and stuff on it. It's like, it's like it's missing a presence. I think is like the biggest thing. It's got like some stuff out there, but I feel like if people like it and they want it to come back, I don't know. Maybe it needs to be like the zeitgeist again.
Oh, and like one of the big turning points for me, like what made me kind of like why I call this game very epic is chapter 6. I felt was super fucking epic because throughout the game, every time you get to a chapter, you see a cutscene that shows you the Thirst Quencher Empire and there's like this castle somewhere else.
Yeah,
and you don't realize that the castle is in the sky.
Yeah,
it's a floating castle.
It is essentially a Metal Gear plot twist.
Yeah,
like when you get the sky,
it's pretty satisfying plot twists.
It is. And all of a sudden, the Thirst Quencher Empire floats over to you, and it's gigantic. Considered the tower you're on, it's already big. Throws out a pipe, sucks out the energy out of your thing you're on, and that and you run over into the Thirst Quencher Empire castle, floating island. It was just runs out of pipe.
It's called the soda fountain.
Oh yeah, soda fountain.
Yeah, it's this world's version of like Outer Heaven, the soda fountain.
It was cool though. It was really cool. That whole last area, as hard as it is, was very epic.
It's definitely, it feels like something right out of a Final Fantasy game. In fact, I would say they did something very similar. I think it's Final Fantasy 12 has almost the same like plot point in it where they're like, oh, we need to like invade this city. And they're like, where is this city? And that's when somebody tells you, oh, the city is floating in the sky. It like travels to different places. And you're like, oh, okay.
That's also in Xenogear, something like that too.
Yeah, it's a cool little anime JRPG trope of we have to get to this kingdom. Where is it? I don't know. It moves.
It was.
They pulled a track.
That's also when I started finally using the abilities the enemies give you, because if you don't, you will not be able to get very far in that final area because your swords are completely useless to these little monsters you fight. All the soldiers and things, they will fuck you up if you're not using their abilities on them.
Is this is this before or after the reveal with John?
This is
It's got to be before.
Before.
Reveal with John is like
John's not until the end.
Leading into the final.
We should explain who John is because I've referenced.
I can do it.
Okay.
John is a guy that you meet very early in the game. In the first in the second chapter, he's in stocks in the town. You rescue a dog is one of your first missions. And then you have to get a key in a grave that he buried and hid to get him out of the stocks, get him bread and water. He helps you periodically. He's a treasure hunter throughout the game.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he keeps showing up.
He helps point you towards the next scroll. And
yeah.
I like the logic of that first little bit where he's in the stocks and he's like, don't worry, I've got a key. It's like, why didn't you hide the key? If you knew you were going to be in the stocks, why wouldn't you hide the key on your person?
Or at least maybe like nearby, not like in a whole forest away in a freaking
not even nearby. If you're gonna be in a situation where, hey, I need this key to stocks, it's like saying, oh, like I've hidden a handcuff key. You don't want to hide it. If you have a handcuff key to get out of handcuffs, the only time you're ever gonna need it is if you're in handcuffs and you won't be able to go get the key. You want that on your person. Like, why would you hide? It's like, oh, I'm gonna don't worry if they lock us up. I've hidden a key to the dungeon. Okay, now that we're in the dungeon, how do we get it? Oh, I didn't make that.
I gave it to my mother-in-law.
Yeah, it's like, you didn't bring it with you to the dungeon. What's wrong with you? I like John though. He's like, yeah, he's a treasure hunter, but he's very chill. He's very like everything that happens to him. He doesn't seem that fazed by, which I thought was really funny.
He's got like that kind of personality swagger of like the like slam poetry guys.
Yeah, and the fact that he's like voiced by Steve Blum just makes it even funnier to me. This voice actor,
small round sunglasses. And...
yeah, it's very like every time Steve Blum plays a character, it's a very like serious. I mean, sometimes goofy, but like typically it's a very serious or like kind of like just like a character that has a lot of presence. And then John's just like, I'm a treasure hunter, and you're like, oh, like you want me to go find some treasure for you? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to, sure, you can find the treasure. He's like, man, you can keep it. I don't care. You're bad at this, dude. You're bad at your job.
Well, I mean, he's lying to you, so
that's true. Yeah, he
part of it.
Yeah, like, he's like giving you his dog, and he's just like, whatever will be, will be. It doesn't matter. It's great.
It turns out later you find out more, but
yeah,
what I think, even like I had a hard time with a boss fight that I don't think I should have. When you're up in the sky, you fight these two thieves that we hadn't mentioned you run into earlier, but they don't matter. They're just two idiots. I had a really hard time with the bigger one, Ben, where he would fly around the room, drop bomb, then you have to hit him. And I just got my ass. I had to use like 4 healing items, and I'm like, wait, what am I doing?
Is that
Because I just did that fight completely wrong.
like Topo or whatever?
Yeah, I think Topo's the second guy that I had no problem with that fight, but Ben was the hard one for me. Because I think I was using Lumina, which is your bigger sword, but it hits slower, and I think I should have been using Fusion, the small katana-like sword, because then he stuns the bosses, and then you keep hitting them.
Yeah, I didn't get his thing. Like, there's
flies around, drops like bombs, stands there and hits you.
Like, there's your 3 protagonists, or your 3 heroes are Musashi, Princess Filet, and John Capicola. And then your bad guys are like tequila, Bordeaux, liquor, and brandy. It's like, okay, the good guys are named after food, and there's Musashi. And the bad guys are named out of drinks. And then there's like 3 other people working for the bad guys named Topo, Ben, and Ed. And I was like, are those names supposed to be references to something? I don't understand.
They probably changed them.
I don't know, because and then like the character shows up and he doesn't really look like anything in particular. Like, he's like a fat guy. He doesn't have a nose. Kind of like I was just like, okay, is he like? I couldn't tell. I was like, is he supposed to look like a fish or a frog or something? Because he's wearing green and he's got kind of like a frog-shaped hat on. But I was like, Ben isn't really a frog name. I don't get his thing.
Yeah.
Like, you should have named him like Hopper or something if he's meant to be a frog.
Well, because I guess they're not part of Thirst Quencher empires. They don't get liquor names, I guess.
So you only are named after food if you're from All You Can Eat, and you're named after drinks if you're from Thirst Quencher. And if you're from anywhere else, you're just named whatever.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay.
Or like, you have like, because in the village, it's like Hotel Mint is her name.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
because her name is Mint, and she's the daughter of the hotel owner, so she's Hotel Mint.
It's like that old thing where like your name came from what your job was. She's Hotel
just taken to a next level.
It's just a stupid extreme. Yeah, I didn't get the like. They should have had a thing, but I guess like if they had a thing that would have made them more important in the scheme. I don't know. It was confusing.
But really, well, the only thing they have is they steal the church bell.
Yeah, so stupid too.
Which is very important to the story.
For some dumb reason.
Then like Ed is a kid, but
I like that boss fight though.
I couldn't tell if he was meant to be like a short man or a young child. And then I looked up like
young child.
Well, yeah, I looked up concept art of him, and he's like a kid wearing like he's a kid, and the concept art is him wearing platform shoes, which is it's just a nice little character touch.
He's just a stupid fight. Like, he just shoots a laser at you, jump over it a bunch of times, and you smack him, and it wasn't too difficult.
But then, like, that made more sense to me. Then after I saw, I was like, oh, he's a kid. That makes sense because he has a stutter throughout the entire game. I was like, why does he have such a bad stutter? That's such a weird thing to give him this like over the top stutter. I was like, oh, he's like a very young child. So that kind of makes sense.
I think we have to mention the best boss fight in the whole game after this. You dance. You have a dance off. Dance or die.
Yeah. Dance or die.
I always thought she has. Okay, so the way this fight, you go into a room and she's like, you wouldn't hit a girl, would you? And he's like, oh man, you got me. I wouldn't do that.
I never considered that before. Like, so literally, that's what your character does is, damn, you got me. It's like, you've been killing everything, dude.
So This
Very
fight
funny.
is she will do a dance where she hits square, X, triangle, or circle, and then she'll show you the song, and then you have to dance with her and hit the buttons. And I thought, okay, this won't be so bad. I fucked up so many times trying to just copy her, and you're watching her do it as you're copying her. It's and you have to follow the same beat too.
Almost at the same time she does. It's very annoying. And then also, like,
you don't have to be exact, but
you're pretty close. It's not like typical Simon Says where she does it and then you copy her. Like, you've got to kind of follow her along.
Yeah, but it's tough.
Here's my question: is like you beat her in the fight and she's like, "Darn, I guess you win," and then you leave, and then she dies.
So her legs break. She broke her legs dancing against you.
Well, I couldn't.
She's like, my legs are broken. I can never rave again. That's what
she's
said.
like, that's
something
it for me.
Baby.
Like, I'll never dance
too hard.
again. And then she like falls over and she's never seen again. I'm like, did she die? Did I just kill her with dance? What happened? I can't.
It was so stupid. I really want Stefan's opinion on this, but he didn't get there anyway. But I was really waiting for him to get to this part.
I hate the boss fight. I love the concept of it. I love that it's a completely different way to meet a boss in the middle of this game. That's hilarious to me.
Well, the whole chapter 6.
I was so confused because they tried to tell a story with with the 3 polygons they had. It's like, she falls over and then she's done. And it's like, okay, your game isn't visually clear enough. You need to have a line after this that says what happened to her. You can't just be like, oh, she's gone forever. Like, she died. I guess she's just forever beat. You broke her legs with your sick moves. Like, what the fuck happens? It's so confusing. I was like, all right, I guess that's the end of her. Very strange.
It wasn't my favorite, but I got pissed off the first time I did it, and then I slept. Came back the next day and did it pretty quickly, but a little one of those kind of things.
What they needed to do to make this make more sense is because if you mess up, she will there's a giant electric fence that she'll damage you with, essentially. So what they needed to do to make that whole thing make sense is, okay, it's a cutscene. The dancing starts, you mess up, you get shot. That way you know the stakes of the fight. At the end of the dance, she because she failed, she gets electrocuted and you win. It's like, okay, now I know what happens. It's so bizarre.
Agreed.
And that's a very simple way to fix that problem.
Yeah, it just didn't feel, I don't know. And then, but again, a lot of chapter 6 is a bunch of boss gauntlets, a bunch of running around doing stupid puzzles, and you're using the sky scroll constantly where you can float over spikes and over things. And then you get to the Crest Guardian Tower of Death.
Yeah.
Which is a fucking tower that shoots laser beams at you and is rotating you and has 6 or 7 pieces. You have to fly up and down to try to find the blue one and hit the blue one as it keeps going through different attacks. It's a weird boss fight. I did not enjoy.
It's so strange.
But that don't matter. But after you defeat the last Guardian, and that's when you find out that the whole point of all these Crest Guardians was to lock in Dark Illumina, which is a wizard that was inside the sword or something like that.
Yeah, you fought the
Wizard of Darkness.
The Wizard of
you
Darkness
don't even...
is not sealed by the sword, but sealed inside the sword.
Oh, and that whole scene is, I think they threatened to shoot Princess Filet, so he just gives them the sword. Says, okay, here you go, you win. I'll let you destroy the world to save her.
Yeah, because I love her, I guess.
It's so stupid. And then,
this is the part of the
he just
story
throws her. He just throws her off the balcony, and she bounces off the floor, and he runs over. Are you okay? Yeah, I don't think she's okay. She's tied up.
Funny because the polygons that make up her character don't move at all. It looks like just this doll.
Yeah,
just getting thrown across the room.
We should say this isn't the point where earlier in the game in other sections where she's kidnapped. That's when she summons Kojiro, right?
Kojiro is somewhere in this game. You fight him one time. I don't remember who summoned him or whatnot.
Well, Filet summoned him because this is another time when she was kidnapped. I was expecting him to come back at the end because halfway through the game,
he does come back at the end.
Kind of. Not I was expecting him to be part big, but halfway through the game, they set up this thing and they just never really pay it off in the way you expect, or how they should, I think. personally,
Mhm.
where Filet is kidnapped and she's being held hostage by I think Topo, or not Topo, the chick who is it Ginger Ale, the vampy chick.
Yeah. Okay.
Bubbles.
Yeah. No, I think it's Ginger Ale. But she's like, I know what I'll do. Like, I like that she's like, she's not just helpless. She's like, I know what I'll do. I'll summon another hero to help me out. And so that way there'll be two heroes in this. And I was like, okay, what are they going for here? And she summons somebody who looks just like Musashi, but wearing red instead of blue, or red instead of purple, or whatever. And she's like, oh, like, you're the brave hero. You're here to save me. And he's like, no, I'm Kojiro. And she's like, but you're the brave hero. Oh, she's like, you're the brave hero Kojiro, who like was also a famous character in our history. And he's like, he's also young because she screwed up the summon again. And she's like, no, my only goal is to duel Musashi. And she's like, but I'm a princess and I'm captured. He's like, I don't care. I just want to defeat Musashi. And then you fight him and beat him like easily. And like just shit talk him the entire time, where he's like, you're the reason I have this scar on my head. And you're like, no, the reason you have the scar on your head is because you tripped and fell when you're running away from me. And so I was expecting him to come back at this point in the game, but then like he's just done. Like that's kind of it for him, like story wise.
Until the end, yeah.
Till the very end.
To the end, where he comes back and he says, haha, I'm not dead. I still want to duel you. And
like, I don't care.
Wizard absorbs him.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
do
was
want to talk about.
Part of me was like, I expected Kojiro to be a much bigger enemy in the game, where he was like going to keep coming back and I was going to keep fighting him. But the fact that you fight him first and you kick his ass, and then he comes back a second time and immediately gets absorbed in Dark Vision, I was like, that's kind of hilarious. That is kind of the funniest thing they could have done.
Two things we hadn't mentioned is, one, when you're about to, after the wizard is released, that's when you find out that John is actually Colonel Capricola, who is one of the villains of the Thirst Quencher Empire you've been seeing in these cutscenes throughout the entire game, and he's shot in the back and dies.
And it's that also is a very strange reveal.
Well,
because
the other part of that reveal is that Colonel Capricola is really John, and John is the rightful prince of the Thirst Quencher Kingdom that Führer Flatsky killed his parents.
Yes, and it's a very odd reveal, and I was really into that part of the story, but I was like, what is part of my brain was like, this is very strange, and I can't, again, it's like they got 3 polygons in the fucking characters, so I couldn't tell exactly what was happening, because he shows up and he's like, don't you remember me, Flatsky? I was like, no, why should I was like, all right, I'm getting some like M. Bison vibes here. What's happening? She's like, you killed my parents. And he's like, I've killed a lot of people's parents. Are you sure that it was your parents I killed? I was like, okay.
Maybe it was just a Tuesday for him.
I was like, that's pretty funny, though. That's a pretty funny line in there. It's like, how can you be sure I killed your parents? I've killed a lot of parents. It's like, okay. All right, Flatsky, I'm coming around on you. You've got some...
And then,
as he goes,
the moment after that, he gets stepped on by the Dark Wizard he summoned. He just steps on, like, oh, you're done.
Well, no, the part right after that I love is he's like, how about now? And he's like, do you recognize me without my hat? Or with my hat? And he's like, he's not wearing a hat, and he puts his hat on. And the guy's like, it's such a bizarre line. Like, you can see his hair, and he's like, how about now? And he puts on a beanie, and Flatsky's like, is that a hat? Oh, now I know who you are. It's like, what the fuck is going on? It's so strange.
And Flatsky, and the other grand part of it all is Flatsky is the only one in the whole Thirst Quencher Empire that has this ridiculously over-the-top German accent.
Yeah. Everybody else sounds like they've all got their own little things going on. Like Topo's kind of party girl, like, let's dance or die. And Vampy's like a little I don't even know how to describe her. She's just very
Trick is like Southern redneck, and
like very heavily like, oh, we gotta snap this, like very hard redneck. And then just like they're led by this like over the top German, and then John just sounds like Steve Blum. It's such a like bizarre thing. Like, do you recognize me now? Oh, Capricola. Did the prince always wear a beanie? I have a lot of questions. Was the prince always wearing it when he got when he was 12 and you killed his parents? Was he wearing a beanie then? And You would never recognize him if he changed his hair or just took his hat off. Like,
and how old was he when you killed his parents? Like,
yeah. When did this happen? What's going on? Like, I need some backstory. The game just gives you so little. It's like, because I mean, the flashbacks are him he's not like a child. It's so weird. Like, the implication is kind of that this all happened a week ago. and just by taking off like the prince's lucky beanie, no one could recognize him. And then he just gets shot, and like that's it. Like, that's the end of that storyline. It's like, what? Okay, I guess we're just moving on. And my brain is like, I can't tell if I'm annoyed by this or if this is like the funniest fuck you I've ever seen in the game. Of like, Kojiro comes back, he gets killed. John's got a whole story, but he gets killed. It doesn't matter. It's just, we don't give a shit about your expectations. That's not what this game is for. This is all a joke. Have fun. It's like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but let's just fight the Dark Wizard.
Which
they did a good job.
Yeah.
You want to describe him?
The Dark Wizard comes. He's like this giant, troll kind of guy.
Yeah.
At first,
well, like
you don't fight. You don't really fight his first form. You just run away from him.
A wild run, like you run, jump, and platform, and get chased, and things fall apart, and
So he gets a little crash.
This whole ending is epic as hell. Like, first you have to run from him, then when you finally after you get done running for like 10, 15, it felt like 10 or 15 minutes, maybe it wasn't, but running from him, you finally get up to the top of this tower, and that's when Kojiro shows up and gets eaten by the Dark Wizard, pretty much, or absorbed into him. Yeah. And he becomes a giant green dragon.
Yeah.
I really like this fight. Like, you just have to jump up, hit him in the face enough times, and then he'll do another attack, get tired, and you can hit him for real, but I really like that fight.
That's another thing that needs to be set up, because he looks like Satan. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like Satan. I'm like, all right, like, it's bad guy in a JRPG looks like Satan. That's fine. Like, I can get behind that. And then Kojiro gets stomped on, and he turns into a dragon. Like, what? Why did that happen? Like,
and his green dragon form is like right there on the case of the game.
Yeah, like,
on the cover art.
Again, it's a small tweak, but what they needed to do was, I like how the leader of Ginger Rail, the leader of the Vampies, is also on it. It's like, why did you pick those characters? But yeah, like, it's just a tiny thing they need to do to like fix that, to make sense. Where Kojiro is introduced and he has a line that says like, oh, Musashi is like the famous like blue dragon samurai, and I'm the green dragon samurai, and I'll duel him to determine which dragon is the best. And then he gets like absorbed by the Dark Wizard, and that's what turns him into a green dragon. That would make sense to me. I mean, it's still like JRPG logic, but it sets it up. It's just like the whole end of this game is like, logic. Yeah, the whole end of this game is like, fuck your story, like, whatever. Like, what's my next goal as the player? Fuck you, fight a dragon. I don't care. Like, go to hell. It felt like Square was angry at me for some reason. I didn't understand why. It's just like they gave me nothing to go on.
That fight is weird, but also, and
you mean
there's not a whole lot to talk about the dragon, but we gotta talk about when you get to fight, and then all of a sudden you find out you're playing Dragon Ball Z and Frieza shows up.
Yeah,
that's all I can think of. When he goes into his final form and it says finale across the screen, he looks like fucking Frieza. Yeah. I know you were thinking it.
It's pretty hard.
I hadn't thought it before, but when I saw you put that in the show notes, I lost it.
Yeah, he started transforming, and it's just so bizarre. It's so weird. First of all, when you're fighting him as the giant green dragon, you're fighting him on what looks like a giant like turnstile. Like, it looks like you're fighting him on a big vinyl album. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. It's got like green shit, like green crystals everywhere, and it's like part of the fight, I guess. But, like, okay, I don't understand why he's a dragon now, but I'll fight him. And then he turns into Frieza. I'm like, what is happening? I'm not following this game anymore. It's like, up to this point, I was kind of following the story. Yeah, there's some stuff that like they like messed up a little bit or like didn't get communicated very well. But now I'm fighting Frieza and I'm like a tiny I don't know why this is the way it is. Why am I fighting Frieza? Why did Kojiro just die? What happened to John? Am I ever going to get answers to questions? And the answer is no, because then you beat him and the game just ends.
Well, it is. There is a little bit of, like, earlier on in the game, there's a bit of hinting that something's up with Lumina. Like, there's consciousness inside the sword because the sword starts talking telepathically to Musashi, but it has this super robotic voice.
It's got a little bit of a like eco thing going on, like in Jak and Daxter, where there's this power that exists, but there's something a little wrong with it.
Yeah,
it's like there's a point where I thought like they were like, oh, it's not sealed like within Lumina. The Lumina is sealed within the sword, and I was like, wait, the way that's worded when they first brought it up, I was like, wait, are they talking about the sword or are they talking about Princess Filet? Because they keep saying like they keep referring to the sword as a character now. I'm like, I don't get what's happening. It felt like they had a lot of ideas that like half their team was like, let's make this joke game, and the other half of the team was like just throwing out ideas, and they didn't really meet in the middle or anywhere. So they just like, oh, we'll just do everything. I was like, what is going on? The sword is the bad guy, and also like Frieza's here, and the princess is hanging out somewhere, I guess.
She got captured again at some point.
Yeah, but then like, where is she during this fight? It makes no sense. Like,
she's right below you. Start the fight like all beat up. She tells you to go get him or something.
Yeah, and then it's kind of implied. I guess you grab her before like the whole.
Yeah, there's this
classic.
The
classic
tower that you're on overhangs, and she's on this ledge that's underneath it.
In classic JRPG fashion, once you beat the final boss, the whole base starts exploding. Which I want to find out. Like, I think personally,
Frieza was destroying Namek to stop Musashi. That's why. I mean, that's what I thought. I thought he was just trying to destroy all.
That's the thing. Is it makes total sense for that to happen to Frieza? Which is that? I mean, isn't Frieza's in the game? What the fuck is going on?
For those that don't know what we're talking about, just Google Brave Fencer Mushashi last boss, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like Frieza mixed with like U2 or something. It's weird. I want to find a way to do that for like myself in real life though. Like when I die, I want my house to blow up. Like I'm like on my deathbed.
Well, you can do that. You just have to plan it a little way, and then you blow up with it or something.
Yeah, I'll get like one of the heart rate monitors, and like once it flatlines, then like the house starts exploding. And what I want to happen is like I flatline and like surrounded by my family, and then like a giant I die, a giant clock reveals itself above my bed. It says like 3 minutes. And they have to escape the house. Like, I just want to go out like an anime boss, you know?
You see, someday when you have kids, I'll make sure they listen to this episode so that they know.
No, they can't know. I want them to. They should know. They should be prepared for this. Like, just like in general, it'll be like Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. Like throughout life, I'm gonna be like training them in ways that they don't understand. And then the giant clock comes up, and they're like, "We gotta get the fuck out of this house." The battle music's playing. We need to go.
And I want to say, you were like the ending of this game, he does rescue the princess, and I guess after he goes back to the castle, the king and queen finally show up, who have been on vacation this whole time.
Yeah, who have not been mentioned.
Really
they have
stupid.
Not been mentioned in the story.
Not once.
They are not characters. They show up, and your first thought is, who are these people?
That was my thought.
They are not mentioned at all. This story begins with like people are trying to kill the princess. Not a single one of their servants says anything along the lines of like, "Oh, thank God the king and queen are out of the castle." It ends like a fucking high school movie ends, where they show up and they're like, "Oh, how was your birthday party?" And it's like, "Was it her birthday? I didn't even know that." Like, how was your party? And the servants are like, "Oh my God!" And she's like, "Oh, it was fine. Like, shut up, Riven or whatever your name is, Ripson." Shut up, like, it was fine. Everything was fine, like, nothing happened. And I don't know why she's lying to them, because of fucking, like, it's the high school movie party thing, where, like, they had a massive party and the house got destroyed, but magically the next day, I guess everything is fine and back to normal. Like, the kingdom that was floating above their kingdom, that exploded and crashed, presumably somewhere around, like, South Castle. That's presumed. There's still burning wreckage of soda fountain littering their kingdom. But she's like, "Oh no, nothing happened. It was all normal." They're like, "Hey, isn't that sword that's been sealed away for 150 years? Why is that out here?" No reason. Just looking at it anyway. We'll go put it back now. It's fine.
It's a weird game. I got nothing.
What?
Why
I don't
go through
understand.
all that trouble?
If this is it's so difficult because I don't know if the game was meant to be a joke. I presumably it was meant to be funny, but I don't know if the whole game itself was meant to be a joke. Like, I don't know if it was meant to be kind of like a Conkers or like a Banjo-Kazooie type thing where
That's what I would say. I would say it's meant to be a joke.
That sounds fair.
But there's a difference between a joke, like the game itself is funny, or the game itself is a joke on the audience.
I mean,
I can't
go with that.
I can't tell. It seems like a very elaborate prank by Square, being like, haha, you played our joke game. You played our prank game, idiot. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just if it's a parody, it's one thing. It's it feels like
you put it on a podcast, idiot. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're talking about it for an hour, you moron. I feel like Square, oh god, it's tough because I feel like it's a parody, and it definitely is meant to be a parody at times. But then part of my brain says, did Square fool us? It's Square pull one on us and be you played our game, you moron. It wasn't even a real game. Doesn't make any sense. Why is Frieza in there? We don't know. Fuck you. What happened? So many questions.
Well, someday we'll play the sequel that won't answer any of your questions.
Yeah, it's and
Probably
the people who the director of this, I don't think really did anything else. I couldn't. I think he directed Final Fantasy, one of the Final Fantasy IV, not Final Fantasy IV, but one of the extra games.
The Afters?
No, the director.
Yeah, it's called The After Years. Final Fantasy IV, The After Years.
He did Interlude. Final Fantasy IV Interlude.
Oh, okay. He did a little part that came out on the Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection that was exclusive to the PSP that has... I should stop talking. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
Fun fact, he was also a advisor for the battles in Parasite Eve 2. So that has me worried.
Let's see. He was a co-producer on a lot of the side Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah,
Birth by Sleep and Chain of Memories.
Yeah,
that's a really heavy worried.
Well, it's what is this guy did this? He did a couple Batman games, old Batman games. I don't think any of the ones we did on this show, but
we did one Batman game on the show so far.
Yeah, I don't think it was Batman Returns though. I think it was just Batman in 64.
We didn't do Batman. We just did Batman.
He did Batman Returns and Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, so he didn't do either of those. So yeah, my question is this guy clearly he's clearly worked in the industry, and if he's producing and working on Kingdom Hearts, then I saw he had a couple battle planner thing. So is he just the go-to battle guy? But then is this his little pet project of I want to make a game with different kinds of battles? This is my test. I don't know. It's very strange. And then the last thing he worked on was Final Fantasy IV Interlude, and then he left the industry. So I don't know. Yeah, I can't ask him. What the deal with this game is. I'm left with so many questions.
All right. I think we should move on to questions, memories, or comments.
Yes. Let's see if other people have similar questions.
Give them to us.
God. There were... Okay, I expected nobody to answer this, but first I got a lot more than I thought. First, from Overblood, I have a few memories I want to share.
I got pretty intimidated when those responses started rolling through.
Oh, there's more.
I get worried whenever, if Mike picks a game that I've never heard of, and I check and I see the post that does anyone have any memories of this game? And I'll see 40 comments. I'm like, what the fuck? What are we getting into?
What's kind of close to this? First one from Michael Hughes, friend of the show. He said, I flippin' love this. You're wrong. Everything from fusion, Mega Manning different powers from enemies, collecting action figures of a lot of the characters, to saving residents of the castle. It has so many different systems and work, but it never feels overwhelming. Square did a solid job in this game, and it's a shame the series stopped after a vast departure from the first game, Mushashi Samurai Legend.
I don't disagree with you.
From Paul Rotloff, one of my top 5 PS1 games. It's so good. So
really?
You're telling me you only played one PS1 game. Any
That's
game that gives me televic bullets as a weapon to win in my book.
Okay, that's fair.
Stephen McNeely, I'm having a demo with this game on it and played the hell out of that demo. I know what you're talking about. From Mercedes Fairbrother, yes, I actually posted about this demo a month or two back. Unfortunately, I never saw that. Neil Hackle, I regret never trying this. Well, sir, you can buy it on PS3, play it on. You can buy it on PSN for PS3 or PS Vita only. or you can Google. But and this is another comment. Okay, the first comment I read was from Michael Hughes where he praised this game. Then he actually went and played it to play along with his show. His comment after that is, "I forgot how much I hated the part with the raft." Angry face.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, he didn't know what he's talking about. So, and this, I have some other comments I want to read from the Giant Bomb group. I was posting this group because sometimes I feel like they don't want to hear from me, but I did post, and I actually got a ton of response from these guys about the game, and I was really surprised. Because normally they ignore me. But first one from Andrew Barrow, he said, "Was this the game where you could collect like in-game miniatures, like box action figures? Maybe I feel like I vaguely remember playing this with a friend of mine back around the time it would have come out. Yes, you can. Yeah. Any point of it? Nope. No, but you can.
And you can't like inspect them or anything. So you just collect them like in a modern game, you collect little figurines, and then you can go look at the figurines later. In this game, you just collect them.
And from Ender Pendrake, this is funny. So I scrolled past this fast and thought it was Shantae at first. He's talking about the cover of the game I posted.
Oh, yeah. It does have a very Shantae-esque cover.
From Andrew Berger, said, "I love this fucking game. Forgotten gem status for sure." Oh, it is a forgotten gem. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And
it's like a really low quality gem.
And Clay, Sir Little Turd. That's what they call you at one point, I think it is. And as we kind of had mentioned this, but this guy brings it up, Alex Orona said, "Classic. Got it for the Final Fantasy VIII demo, but loved it." This came with a Final Fantasy VIII demo that is not exactly in the game. The demo is different than the actual game, but that's how a lot of people bought. That's the only reason a lot of people bought this game. Just like a lot of people bought Crackdown for Halo 3 beta. Same idea.
Yeah, but Crackdown was fun too. Look, everyone knows the best demo ever was on you got Republic Commando, and you came with the demo for you got KOTOR 2, and it came with a demo for Republic Commando.
You said Metal Gear Solid 2 wrong. Zone of Enders Metal Gear Solid 2 was the correct answer.
No, the best one was KOTOR 2 and Republic Commando, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise.
I can never say anything bad about Republic Commando, because Republic Commando gave us about 5% of all our downloads.
Episode. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, anytime an episode does well, Republic Commando does as well, and I don't understand how.
It's at 1,100 something downloads right now.
It's got like more legs than any other episode we've done. I think
next one is Pac-Man World.
It's clear what needs to happen. We just need to stop doing like different video games. We just need to talk about Republic Commando every week for the rest of our lives. That's the obvious solution. I don't know what else we should do.
All right, from Nick Locano, he said, "Great game, great soundtrack, great voice cast, fun, silly story. One of my absolute favorites." Okay.
A lot of people say
that is one thing we haven't mentioned, and is very true to Square's reputation, that this game has a wonderful soundtrack.
Except for the song that sounds like fucking Bizarre Love Triangle by New World. Like, that's just get rid of, if you remaster this game, get rid of that fucking song.
And the other,
and I want to give a shout out.
I say just a small touch on the topic of the soundtrack. You pay close attention, you'll notice that the overworld theme that plays when you're in the castle, as you rescue the different musicians, their instruments start. They
add that was really cool, actually. I really like that. I mean, the guy who did the soundtrack of this was we didn't mention him, but it was Joshi Sakido, who did like the Final Fantasy games and stuff. He did Last Remnant. Like dude knows what he's doing.
I actually played with headphones on for most of this game, so I got irritated.
I liked all the music except for the song that sounded like Bizarre Love Triangle.
Yeah.
And this one from Tony Carrace said, "I fucking love this game." I feel sorry for you, sir. But he's cool. He's a Facebook friend of mine. He also is doing a podcast episode about this game. Eventually, he has a podcast called "Hey, I Like That Game." I don't. So looking for another podcast. Check him out, and also he'll be doing this game too, and he'll probably have more positive things to say than we might say here shortly.
Fun facts about
He's like, "I can't wait to listen to you guys." I'm like, "Yeah, you're gonna love it. Yeah,
you might like this." Fun fact about the composer for this game: same guy who did the music for Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, which we played, and
good
Chrono Trigger
game. Great game, amazing game, best game ever.
Which may or may not be eventually on the show.
It will be, for sure. It's not as long as you think it is. I mean, I'm a little biased because I can probably beat that game in a day if I really want to, but it's not. It's a short RPG.
We've got some longer episodes coming up to like test to see how well we can manage it.
Like KOTOR?
Yeah, that's probably gonna be the longest one we've done, I imagine.
That's gonna be a 4-hour podcast.
Well, it depends. We'll see.
Be a 4-hour podcast. What?
We're the guest I have lined up for that one. We can talk about Star Wars for hours by ourselves. So
yeah, like I said, it's gonna be It's gonna be a 2-part episode. What's gonna happen? I'm gonna cut it in half and split it between that week in that same week. But that's neither here nor there right now. From Travis McCory, he said they said, "What if Kirby but swords?" That is a very good way to put this game.
Yeah, kind of. What if Kirby?
Oh, you'll like this one from Jerome Castro. He said, "My memory of this is in bits and pieces, but the nostalgic is there. Very polished game and so anime. Wouldn't you agree? Very polished game."
Yeah, this is you know, this it really is. This is a hidden gem. If the gem in question is like Topaz, that's a joke for all the gemstone people out there.
I mean, it's your memory's playing tricks on you, unfortunately. I mean, it's very anime, but it's not super polished. We still don't feel like that, unfortunately, anymore.
Not.
I mean, it might have felt good in 1998, but it's aged.
Last comment to read from this particular group, and I have one more group, then we'll wrap up this section. From David Markowitz. I have Brave Fencer Mushashi and Star Ocean 2 sitting next to me right now. Play Star Ocean 2, put Brave Fencer Mushashi back. That's the answer.
Hey, Star Ocean 2, good game now.
Star Ocean 2 is really good and really fucking long. Until you get to the end of the game, then it just sucks, but I don't like the end.
It's till the end of time. But again, that's a vast minority with that opinion.
I really need to play that. That's super long, isn't it?
It is long, but it also it goes places. It's a very strange story that I really love.
We could never play it on the show, could we?
Probably not. No, probably not ever. Oh, well, let me look at how long.
68.5 hours.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah, it took me a very long time to beat that game as a kid.
That'd be
that
a
game,
long episode us talking about Star Ocean.
It's one of those JRPGs where, like, 5 different times throughout the game, you're like, oh, okay, the game is ending now. And then it just changes gears and becomes an entirely different kind of game. It's like, what the fuck? I thought we were done. So you get to the end of this storyline. Yeah.
Completionist, 314 hours.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that requires, like I would say the 80-hour average is like probably a good point. There's the completionist run. There's a lot of things in the game that like require you to just leave the game running while you do stuff in the background. So, all right, there's like a whole alchemy system. That's a nightmare.
A couple questions to read from this last group, then we'll be done with this. Then we'll be done. From John Paul Dago, it said, "Such an epic game. I remember trying to learn different techniques and got tired of seeing Mushashi learn Mint. I never learned Mint because I only suck certain people to get their ability. Yes, oh, that's not. From Tori Scott, one of my favorite PSX days. This is down best OST for me personally. Here's a fun fact for your podcast. The composer Tishu Yoshi was working on tracks for Chocobo Dungeon 2 while also producing the Mushashi OST. So on CD2, the track called Dark Corridor is a stripped down version of the Bell and Flame from Musashi. That's cool, man. I have no idea what you're talking about exactly, but I know what Chocobo Dungeon 2 is.
And fun fact for you, the overworld theme is a stripped down version of Bizarre Love Triangle by New Order.
And last question we're going to read from Chun Fei. He said, try Musashi Samurai Legend on PS2. Although it's not that great as the first, but it's good to have if you love the battle system. Well,
I'm interested in it. I'll give him that. Like I'm
interested too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can say if this episode does really good, it'll be on the show because anything that does really good, we'll
definitely do it.
Like I should say, we're definitely after Alice hit 350. We are definitely doing Alice Madness Returns this year at some point, hopefully. Even though we're kind of booked until August, and I'm gonna try to make it do Golden Sun: The Lost Age this year or in early next year because we need to wrap that.
Yeah,
I know. I want to though.
I never did finish that sequel.
Yeah, neither did we.
Game, loved it.
I think we told people back in December though. We said like, or like talking about changing up the scheduling slightly so that we can do some longer games, because a lot of people want us to play longer games, and it's just we really do want to. It's just hard.
We're gonna be this coming season. We're gonna be trying some really random shit. I shouldn't say really random shit. We're kind of random episodes that aren't based on gaming, but not a certain game, or some really short games where we can just that way we have an extra week to crank out longer stuff, such as KOTOR. We've been calling them like special topics episodes where. Yeah, and they'll fill your normal spot, and you'll still have the comics and movies that we've been doing consistently now. An episode that requires a lot less work, so that we can work on a bigger game in the background. Yeah. All right, I think we should go to see how those goes. If they work out, then we'll keep doing them. I got a couple ideas that we have, like 3 random stuff we're doing next season to sprinkle out, and a couple really short games. So. I don't think we haven't announced our the first one we're doing yet, but I'm super excited for it. Yeah, we can announce it. I'm about to post it anyway. So we're playing Resident Evil 3 to coincide Nemesis to coincide like a week before the remake comes out, so it gets you all excited about Resident Evil 3, hopefully. Oh no, I was talking about the first like non-game episode we're doing. Oh, I don't. Also excited for that, but I didn't know if you want to. We haven't like gotten anywhere. I don't think we're anywhere close to announce that yet. Don't worry. Stu, why don't you go first for Shelfer Box? Man. I'm a little torn. I admittedly, there's a lot that this game does that I find really interesting and unique and fun. I think this game has to go on my box though, not because it's a bad game, just because like had I played this as a kid, I definitely would have that nostalgia for it. I would definitely have that love for it. That, it would just be cemented in my head as this fantastic, cool, interesting game. But because I didn't play as a kid, I don't have that nostalgia. And so it's a little too clunky. It's a little too janky. It's got that old, it's aged like a early 3D game, which isn't a good thing. But yeah, so it's going in my box. But again, I'm going to have to say it's going in my box with an exception. If they did a remaster of this game and they put it on the Switch and they cleaned it up and they maybe like added in a little bit more story, just small stuff, like extra lines here or there to like make everything make sense. I mean, you could bring the same voice actors back pretty much. They're all still working in the field, I think. As far as I can tell, they're all still working out there. Recently enough. Yeah, like bring them all back, just record a couple extra lines or like re-record the dialogue entirely, just tweak the game a little bit, like make it flow better, make the gameplay a little cleaner, and I think I would really love this game. And the only thing holding it back is like its age, really. So it's sadly going in my box, but I had a lot of fun looking into it and like hearing like the cool soundtrack and exploring this cool world where everyone is named after food and they've got this very clear theme and clear like thematic code to everybody. I like that. I like that JRPG style. So going to my box, but I did really enjoy it. How about you, Benjamin? So where I'm at, like I'm still halfway through, and I got all of these all 3 of these are going to start with well. Yeah. I can say that I'm as frustrating as some of the parts are. I do plan on finishing the game. Like I am enjoying it. But I don't see the replay value. Yeah. I don't see myself turning back to it. So it's put it in the box, but with a smile. Yeah. It needs that that's the problem with like a lot of comedies in general, not just in games, just like comedy in general tends to age pretty quickly. The jokes have been told. Yeah. I've had the laughs. It's hard to make a comedy that ages really well, which is why some movies were like Top Secret and Airplane, despite some of those jokes having aged very poorly, some of those like other jokes in that movie they're kind of timeless. It's hard to nail that timeless comedy. Mm-hmm. I think if the gameplay was just tweaked, then like that comedy would still be really enjoyable. But the fact that you have to slog through so much to get to that comedy is kind of right. It's too much of a grind. I'll go last, and I'll to stick with tradition. Well, I mean, I had real fond memories of this game. Just like when I played Operation Raccoon City, the game I remembered and the game I played today were not the same game.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is super fucking epic, especially near the end. And I really was like, well, I'm really having fun. But throughout the game, partly it was me and I sucked at this game. Like I really sucked at it. So that's on me, but I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, I enjoyed the comedy. I enjoyed the story. I thought that was cool, but the platforming is hard, and I just wasn't into the leveling system. And like, I'm glad we did it on the show, but I never want to play it again now. And I'm glad that a lot of people like this game. Like, if they, like as Stu said earlier, if they remade this and remastered it and made a few changes, quality of life improvements, I'd be all on board because it's a fun game. It's a cool story. It's very unique, but it was too hard for me at times, and it just wasn't for me anymore. So it's going in the box, and I'm glad we played it. I'm glad I finally beat it, but I'm good. I do want to play the sequel someday, maybe, or the spiritual successor, they call it. We'll see.
It's
that depends on how the show does.
I think in general, like, I like that a lot of games are being remastered now. I know some people are like, oh, they've run out of ideas. Like, no, I am so excited for Final Fantasy VII to come out. Like to play that whole game again in the remastered. I bet that's going to be really cool.
You gotta wait 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. You're only going to wait a long ass time. But I like when games are remastered. I like going back and playing, like, the fucking Master Chief Collection, despite not all being out on PC, is still, like, incredibly successful and cool to me. I love that. But I would very much like to see companies, kind of like how movie companies need to do this, where they need to, like, stop remaking good games that already exist.
Yeah.
Like, they should go back to things like this. They should go back to
take the okay games and make them good.
Yeah, that's like, there's gonna be a point.
You're about to make another joke.
Well, there's gonna be a point where, like, that presumably is going to start happening once Hollywood runs out of all the greatest movies to remake, and they remake them 3 more times after that. Then surely they'll go back and they'll remake, like, an okay-ish movie that people have kind of forgotten about. And, like, I want games to start doing that. I'd like Square to come back and say, like, okay, we have this game that some people love, and it's got this little following, but it didn't do very well. And it's like, it's not remembered as fondly as it could be, but it's got a lot of really cool concepts in it. Let's take that and let's make that something new out of it. I want that to start happening. So, I mean, like, I'm fine. Like, I've said this before. I'm fine with, like, all game companies essentially taking, like, 3 years off and saying, we're not going to make anything new. We're just all going to go back and remake these old games. Totally fine with that. There's a lot of great ideas out there that never really got a chance. We've played a number of games in this podcast that are great ideas that have never gotten a chance. So they exist.
Play more.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
I think that. And since Stefan's not here to introduce the game for next week, Stu, do you want to?
Yes.
It's kind of up your alley.
Yeah, that's a good hint that I am not gonna get. Hold on a second. The game we are playing next week is Sweet Home
for NES, the game that inspired Resident Evil essentially later on, made by Capcom. Well, it's very strange.
A very early survival game.
Yeah, survival or turnstile RPG or some weird shit. I don't even know. I haven't started it yet.
It's an odd little thing. Yeah, well,
this is the week of, like, this is the month of odd games. Like, we just got done playing Alice. Now we're playing Fencer Mushashi. Then we're playing Sweet Home. Like, then we're playing GTA 2.
Yeah, then we're ending with, like, a normal game. But I think a lot of people still haven't played GTA 2. So this is the month of, like, this is like our hipster month. We started with we kind of started, like, the hipster month with Last Express. We're ending with Sweet Home.
You know, that's very accurate. I forgot about Last Express.
Yeah, we'll just from now,
trying to forget.
We'll try to do the same thing next year. Like, February to March will be like the, like, hipster games.
We also did Metal Gear Solid and Ghostbusters in February.
Yeah, well, we'll say, like, mid-February. That's our hipster month. Our hipster month doesn't take place in a normal month because that would make too much sense.
We're hip.
Yeah, it takes place in the last 2 weeks of February. The first 3 weeks of March are our hipster month.
All right. I think that about wraps it up for a couple of quick things I want to say. First, First, I want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bobby, aka Mike Stoney, from his EP Bite the Bullet. The song is The Cool Kid Squad. You will see a link to his YouTube page on the show notes. All right, got that out. Also, please follow us, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm constantly posting images, and hey, I'm sure some of you guys have found me because I'm posting random shit on Instagram and Twitter. So please follow me on there so we can have more followers, and I'll keep posting. And as I said before, I'll say again, if you want to email us, please feel free. gamesmymomfound@yahoo.com. Please feel free to send us emails, and we have the email. We will read it now. I have access to it. And also, feel free, if you have any questions about the show, anything you want to recommend, anything you want to say, please feel free to shout out a message to me on Games My Mom Found on Facebook Messenger. Like the page, Games My Mom Found, and I will reply. I'm trying to get better at it, but I will reply. And Adam Bradbury, I appreciate you. We finally read your email. It took a while, but we read it.
I do think it'd be funny if somebody emailed us. I've been waiting for somebody to give us a game that none of us have ever touched.
There's your challenge, guys. Anyone still listening? Send us an email, something we never heard of. We might play it on the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you pick a game that none of us have played, 100% it'll be on there. I will fight for that.
Yeah,
and hopefully it won't end up like Cube.
But things will get better. Because now I'm finally going to be off 6 days. As of this recording, I have 1 6-day week left, and then I'm off 6 days. I also get
You're
off
a 6-day work
training,
schedule.
but
You're not going to be off for 6 days a week.
No, that'd be amazing.
I was you're off 6 days. What the fuck, Mike? What job did you get?
No, I won't be doing 6 days. I'll just be doing regular 40-hour work weeks at a 50-hour work week. So now it's very been impressive to me to juggle a podcast, juggle doing things with my wife, and working all in 1 week. It's interesting some ways.
Yeah, Steph and I had a conversation with Mike at some point where we're like, "Hey, we can't do 7 episodes a month, just so you know." It's like,
yeah, we are. The next movie thing is coming out, as I mentioned before, is I'm doing Iron Man. It's already been recorded, already edited, will be released later this month, but we're going to start doing the chronological or published date, the MCU movies as they came out. And I'm doing that with Mike Hughes.
3 years, so.
It's going to get sped up at some. But so that's coming, and we have been in talks to do more comic episodes because those are really easy to do, and Stefan wants to edit. So there'll be more coming. It sounds like.
Okay.
So I'm trying to find ways that we should keep doing the regular show, and I do extra stuff without pushing you guys to the brink of death. So I'm trying.
Yeah, there have been a number of comic episodes where I'm like, oh, that would have been cool to be on, but I just like, I worked 70 hours last week.
One thing I did find that you have to be on is there's a Flintstones comic that came out a few years ago that is like a very dark version of the Flintstones, where Yabba Dabba Doo is something they said while they were in war.
I still want to do that.
And they go to the mall. In one scene, they go to the mall, and they're like, hey, you want to try a sample or panda extinct? And it's a panda head he's going to try. And it's a really dark-ass comic, but it's definitely going to be on the show now at some point.
I think I've seen images from it before.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's like the, quote-unquote realistic version of Flintstones.
Yeah.
There's like post-Vietnam Flintstones.
Bunch of Hanna-Barbera, really
there's that one
like that.
There's that one I really want to do, and I don't know if it's on the schedule or not.
Beast of Burden?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good. I just make a list, and then we're still figuring that out. But now and I'm also going to be on day shifts. It'll be a lot easier to record.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of we got Monday. All we got is Monday. All right, we don't get done Monday, we're screwed. Like that will be over with, that bullshit.
Yeah.
For those that don't know who've been listening to us for a while, Stu works day shift kind of and goes to school. And then I was working night shift. Stefan was working night shift certain days. So it was like we had 2 days to record. If we missed those days, well, SOL.
I basically work, it's fair to say day shift. I go to school during the day and then I work whenever. Usually I find out Sunday when I'm working for the week. And so it could be anywhere from a little bit or like I said, some weeks it's I'm going to do 3, this week I'm going to do 3 overnights. So it's a lot of figuring it out very last minute.
All right, I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
And just fucking scrambling.
All right, we will see you all guys. Okay, we will see all you guys next week. We talk about Sweet Home, and I am not excited.
Did you?
Okay.
You did the ending thing, the outro.
Yeah, I did it all.
Did
I just
you?
kept talking afterwards.
Yeah,
I just kept talking.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't shut up. That was the problem.
I haven't slept
I
in a
just
while.
kept going and going and going.
Pretty tired, so I guess I just missed it.
You heard it over 70 times.
That's true. But is that a sign of
Oh.
like you got it absolutely right, so I didn't hear it? Because usually I hear it if you get it wrong. Or if you don't
Something
do it,
like
I'm like,
that.
oh, huh? I'm starting to just tune Mike out now. It's really bad for a podcast.
All right.
I'm gonna stop listening to one of the hosts altogether.
It worked. All right, we will see you guys next week, everybody. Hey, if you haven't listened to old episodes, up those downloads. And hey,
Yeah.
you never know what we got. If you're just a new listener, check out. We got tons of crap we're doing. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Republic
Bye, everybody.
Commando. Apparently, it's our best fucking episode.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.